like you mentioned, writing all these different books over the past like several years, and I suppose like when you start each book you write, do you have like a checklist that you go through? Is there like a methodology that's universal across them, or is it kind of different depending on the book?
That would have been great if we'd had a methodology or a process. We didn't have a process. People always ask, how did you write Animorphs? Like, think of every possible iteration, every conceivable way two people could do it. We did all of those at different times in different ways, and add in a lot of arguing and yelling. Then you've got a fairly clear picture of what was going on during the Animorphs era. Less yelling after we stopped working together, and just we're older now. So yeah, no. The only thing that it's interesting now that we're writing separately, we have very different approaches. Now during with our YA books with Ocean City and Boyfriends, Girlfriends, and all that, we developed a habit of creating series Bibles. And we had because Sweet Valley Twins had a series Bible, and it was just awful. It was fucking useless. So we decided, no, we're going to perfect the art of series Bible. So we did. So with the Animorphs series Bible, for example, we illustrated it, like I said before, with pictures and everything to like focus our mind and think about the mission of the series, the feel of the series, what we think this impact is going to have on the readers, how they're going to feel. All this kind of stuff was probably a 20-page Bible. Other times, like in the Boyfriends, Girlfriends Bible, we had a character who was blind. So we had maps of our locations. And we counted steps so that Ben could move around in this. And so it would always be the same. So if he's walking from his house to the ice cream parlor, it's X number of steps. So we had that in the Bible. They lived on an island. We had the ferry schedule back and forth. I mean, we just got horribly detailed. And then in Gone, again, series Bible, just about everything I start with the series Bible. And Catherine starts by buying a whole bunch of books she's not actually going to read. And then, I make fun of her because it takes her forever to get started. And it's like, I always tell her it's like a dog, taking a dump. I have to turn around 6 or 8 times before they finally decide when it's time. So she kind of thinks about it in a much more organized fashion than I do. Although, see, series Bible to me is a shortcut method because I could do things like I'll pull off photographs off the web and use those for characters. And why? Because it gets me in touch with the character quickly, and I'm writing about that specific person. The person in my head might shift around a little bit, but that person looks like that person, and I'm going to keep writing about that person. So I use the series Bible as a sales tool and also as a means of self-discipline. So it's how I now convince a publisher that they should be interested in this. And the other aspect of a series Bible is to signal to the editors that their input is not particularly desired or needed. That we got this. We know what we're doing. Here it is. This all works. Now leave us alone and send us money, which is pretty much my approach to publishing. Leave me alone and send me money. So yeah, that's about the whole process. I write. Catherine's much more of a rewriter, so she hates that first draft period. That's always a struggle for her. She loves getting to the end of the first draft so that she can go back and make everything pretty and make it all right. So she loves that. I'm much more of, when I'm done with the damn thing, I don't want to see it again. It's like I hit the email, I sent it, I don't want to think about it again, at least for a while. And I write because I write much longer things now, with Gone in particular. I write in like a series of loops. So I'll start writing, and it's always easy to start. Boom, 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 page, page, page. And as you write into it, you go, oh, this character needs somebody to talk to. I need another character for him to talk to. I need dialogue. I need somebody in this situation. So I'm still building out my cast. And then I'll write until I get kind of the anxiety builds up. And I realize that there's some problems with what I've done so far. So then I'll loop back to the beginning and go, okay, I need to make this change. And then I go through and make the change. And I'm back to wherever I left off. It's page 75. I'll write another 50 pages or 100 pages until I get to the same point of going, there's a bunch of shit that needs to be, fixed in the past to make this all work together. So it's a series of like overlapping loops until the end. So the front part of the book is has often been rewritten 3 or 4 times, and the end is probably just once, because by then I'm sick of it and just want it to be over. So that's my process, such as it is.
Absolutely, and I imagine this is probably the kind of stuff that would be in like a series Bible. But I know, being a fan of Gone, I can see kind of maybe some influences you might have had. I see like Lord of the Flies, Lost to some extent, and I suppose like what kind of made
Lost?
like,
Lost, absolutely, because Perdido Beach is a deliberate shout out. Perdido means lost. For Lost. Also, shout outs to Stephen King. There's the Stefano Rey National Forest, Stefano Rey being Spanish for Stephen King. So that, yes. Lord of the Flies, no. I was halfway through the first book before I made the connection. And I was so pissed off. I was like, God damn it. Lord of the fucking Flies. Why am I do I have to stop doing this? Because I'd never, ever, ever want to do anything that's derivative of anything else. I mean, it's got to be original. It's got to be something I came up with. So I wasn't thinking about it, but there it was. And then the more I looked at it, well, no, but I'm going a completely different direction. It's a whole different setup. I get what Lord of the Flies was, and I get the connection now, but I don't think honestly you can say that, Gone really sounds like Lord of the Flies. I mean, might as well say Robinson Crusoe. It's got it's basically the same, theme. As a matter of fact, if you think about it, it goes back to the expulsion from the Garden of Eden. Everything was fine, then something goes wrong, and now we're in a hard life. Now things have gotten hard. We're out of the garden. I'm Robinson Crusoe. I'm on my boat. Everything's great. Damn, now I'm on an island and I'm starving to death. And the locals are trying to kill me. So it's basically the same setup over and over again, but very differently iterated, obviously, in Gone than it was in Lord of the Flies.
Absolutely. And I know in particular for me, in terms of Gone, I don't know if other people have like shared like similar stories, but I kind of had a very unique entry point into that series, in that the local like bookstore I went to, like I'd have been about the same age as like the kids in the books when the books were first coming out. And the local bookstore owner kind of was noticing the kind of books I was buying, and she actually gave me the first Gone book and said, "Oh, based on what you've been buying, this might be of interest to you." I'm pretty sure she actually gave that to me for free. So sorry about that in terms of your book sales, but I was definitely appreciative of that, and that kind of set me off.
That's fine. No, we obviously I love booksellers who hand sell. First of all, booksellers who just know what's going on, and who really care about books and who are going to hand sell stuff. It's amazing. It was a great help in the UK, especially in delivering to male readers, because I'd been told by my American publisher, we don't sell books to boys. Because the male market was not strong in young adult, which is why we ended up with these god-awful covers in the US that I think really hurt the launch of the series. It just made it look like it was going to be a romance novel or something. I was like,
I've seen those covers.
It's like, did you read the book? Because it's a bunch of kids beating each other to death with baseball bats. I'm not sure why. Not sure why Astrid's wearing lingerie and looking off into the sunset. But okay, whatever you got to do. At that point, I had no power. I was an unknown. I mean, some people knew I'd been involved in writing Animorphs, but a lot of people didn't. So I was basically a new writer at that point.
And I suppose obviously like reflective of real life, there's a lot of like different cultural and like social standpoints in like the phase itself. Obviously, you have little Pete who's autistic, Adelio's from Honduras, and so on and so forth. So like, did you kind of think about like representing these different groups in a certain way, like to kind of like, accurately or respectfully, or were you trying to represent the best characters you could, regardless?
Little Pete's a sore point, because after the books came out, some autistic kids, I don't know if they're kids, everybody's kids to me. Let's just say that. They could be 40, I don't know. But in any case, some autistic kids got a hold of me on Twitter and said, "Look, we got problems with this." And I looked at it and listened to them and thought, you're absolutely right. I was facile with this. I grabbed a word that I didn't really think about and used it. And I told them, if we ever get a TV series or a movie out of it, I'll change that. I'll fix it. There's nothing I can do about it now except say, no, you're right. Um, but that's really the only criticism that's been that I thought was legitimate. And when when you find out that something is true, you're helpless in the face of that. I mean, if it's true that I screwed that up, then yeah, I screwed it up. I should have put a little bit more effort into it. I should have thought about it. But I didn't. My entire awareness of the issue was my wife, Catherine, was volunteering with autistic kids, bringing our dog in, like a comfort animal or something, until he tried to bite a kid. And that was the end of that. But that was all I knew about it. And these were like, fairly severe, low function, I guess, autistic kids and young. So who knows what they grew up, how they grew up to, could have been, I don't know what their lives were like, but at that point they were kind of more the cliche, I suppose. But since then, I've kind of become aware of the fact that the spectrum is quite a bit wider than that. And hell, I'm probably pretty close to being on one end of it myself. There's so many things associated with autistics that I go back, oh yeah, it was me too. So I don't know. I may just be high functioning myself.
Yeah.
And one of my kids is definitely spectrum.
Right.
So, that was, I wish I'd done a better job of that. And I know with Animorphs, we both wish we had done more on gay rights. There was a couple of references there, a couple of points, but it was 1995 or so. And we were already aware that we were getting away with murder. Let me put it that way. The things were in Animorphs were like nothing else that was happening in Kidlit. There was no other point of comparison with Animorphs. And our editor, Tanya Martin, the great sainted Tanya Martin, who put up with our shit forever, and is absolutely the third big person in the Animorphs saga, as well as Everworld and Rebels. She let us get away with it. So we're like, okay, cool, but we're getting away with a lot. So we would push a little bit here and there on some other things, but it was never, for either of us, it's never been, politics or issues first. It's always got to be story and character. And hopefully, if you do it right, the bigger issues get in organically. So for example, Rachel from Animorphs is one of the first examples of what is now dubbed strong female character. In other words, it's a strong female character who was also violent and aggressive. And the sad thing is that there was another strong female character there named Cassie, who was not violent and aggressive. She was thoughtful and moral and considerate.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that frustrates me, particularly in movies now, is the idea that strong female character equals a woman who takes on masculine characteristics, traditionally masculine characteristics. In other words, violence. I mean, when you boil it down, that's what it comes down to. It's like, well, you're a strong female character if you can kill people. No. Eleanor Roosevelt was a strong female character. She didn't kill anybody. Well, as far as we know, who knows what she was up to. It's a perverted, to me, like internalized sexism to imagine that women can only be equal, women can only be strong if they exhibit traditionally masculine characteristics. That seems like it's a fairly fucked up way to look at the world. But in any case, Rachel was a pretty early example of that. But she was grown throughout the series, so we knew her path. And by the time she became that person, we'd seen where she started and what she was. So if you background a character, in other words, if you write the character, instead of thinking of them as a political spokesperson or as an avatar of this or that or another point of view, then of course they can be a gay character, for example, because they're not gay character, tattooed across their forehead, like I'm trying to make a fucking statement. Not trying to make a fucking statement. So with Gone, it was 332 kids we started with. Well, obviously, there were gay kids. Obviously, there were Black kids, Hispanic kids. Some smart, some not so smart, some brave, not so brave. Some, you've got the entire panoply of humanity there. And which is a great thing to start with, where you feel like I can use everything. I can use every possible type of human. I've got access to them, and they get to be in the picture.